So guys, welcome back to another video. Today Will and I are going to pretty much be talking about our 16 years experience running our marketing agencies and also just deep diving into Will's experience, really diving into some of the biggest agencies in the UK, because I know a lot of you watching this now, you're in the agency space or you're looking to get into the agency space. Maybe you want to know some of the do's or don'ts or just our insights over the last 16 years. So, we're really going to kick it off. I want to actually start the video just talking about what it's been like, Will, for you, especially working in some of the biggest agencies out there. So just quick backtrack, around 8 years ago when Will first started his agency, predominantly you were running your agency, but you also top media buyer for some of the biggest agencies, weren't you?
Yeah, so before that I actually worked in agencies, so I worked in print as well. So it's pretty cool, through uni and stuff, I did marketing, in short, won a couple of design awards, got to work with some quite large agencies in London who were big time working brands like Sky, Now TV. That was a really kind of cool experience, and like I say, I got to work on these brands, then moved into the print space, and then through moving into the digital marketing world, I actually grew my agency through referrals, and a big part of that, because of the unpredictability, I did a lot of white labeling. So effectively going to other agencies that were doing really well, they're signing a massive clients, they've got that acquisition side sort of all dialed in, but they're struggling to find people to actually run the ads. So I'd go to them and effectively do a cheaper service, but would manage to see all their systems and stuff like that, and that was kind of the return for it as well. So yeah, it was interesting. I've worked with an awful lot of agencies now. Now typically with Booster, we kind of take everything in-house, and that's just because then we got complete control. Makes everything 100 times easier. But yeah, it's interesting to see from agency to agency how things are run. Some do it a lot better than others, and that's obviously helped us massively. But yeah, it's actually night and day between some of these agencies.
Yeah, it's just been quite nice for me as well, because I've always just run my own agency, run my own team. Will, because of the fact that you were a top media buyer in some of the largest agencies in the UK, it's quite nice because you've had the insights of what it's like to be in a bad agency, but also what it's like to be in one of the top agencies out there. We're not going to name, companies, but I would say they're definitely still one of the leading agencies. I wouldn't say they do everything the right way. You can probably just just give people an insight, because at the end of the day, when you're running an agency, I would say not everything's done the most ethical. Let's just say there are dark sides to running.
There are, yes. There's been certain bits of agencies where I've been put onto a client account, and I'll get a couple of weeks into working with this client. I think, I'm really struggling to get the results, so I'll report back to the people on the team, and they'll say, we knew you'd never get the result. It's what they call cannon fodder for the agency, effectively. So we're going to sign this client on, we're going to use the money to help grow our own agency, but we're fully aware that we can't grow theirs. And that was obviously a bit that I found very unethical. But when it comes down to the actual agency systems, and when I say it's kind of night and day, some agencies that you work with will say, right, can you send a creative report over to this client? And I'll say, yeah, sure, what have you got? And they'll say, I haven't got anything. I say, okay, well, have you got anything with your branding on it? And they'll say, no. So I effectively have to go away, make up a creative report, brand up a document because they've got absolutely nothing. So that's on one end. On the other end, you would get, right, well, can you do a creative report for this client? Here's a complete document, effectively fill in the blanks, and here's a 40-minute Loom video going through all the reporting and how we do it all. So that's what I mean. One is the SOPs are absolutely spot on, and on the other end, it's I'm actually having to create the SOPs while we're doing it as well.
Yeah, 100%. And that's, well, to anyone watching now, just documenting and building SOPs within your agency is so important. And the reason for that is because obviously, even when you do get to the point of selling your agency, it's literally just a plug and play for whoever's buying it. But also not just that. Every time you bring in a team member, there's no room for error. Honestly, as long as your SOPs are to the highest standard possible, there's literally no room for error. And we literally had it, well, even with our own agency. I remember, the client we signed in Australia, they were spending, $250,000 per month. So it was a pretty big client. And we took on this new media buyer, and actually he made an error in the account. A week later, we lost the client.
It's quite a minor error in the grand scheme of things, really. It was a very easy thing to miss. But the way you got to look at it with anything like this, let's say you put a media buyer on the account, or it could be anyone, email marketing, whatever it is, and let's say there's an error. Let's say it's a spelling mistake in an ad. At that point, you've got the opportunity to create an SOP for that. So if it happens once, people are human, right? So if it happens once, that's fair enough. If it happens twice, that is on you as an agency owner, because you've recognised the issue, you've done nothing about it, and then that issue's happened again. Whereas if you've recognised the issue, cool, this has happened, now we've created some sort of operating procedure to make sure that doesn't happen again. So that could be if it was something like spelling, maybe you buy someone a Grammarly account or something like that. everything has to be copied into there and then copied across literally so there's no room for error, then that's fine. Then if it happens again, you can go back to that person and say, look, why has this happened? Why didn't you follow the SOP? But if you don't put that in place, that is 100% on you.
Yeah. And you just got to understand, when you're running an agency, I remember what it was like for me as well, having my own team, like accountability is everything. You can't then go, you've worked with agencies where you can see it a lot, where the founder will actually just put blame on someone.
Oh, just pass it off completely. Yeah. I mean, I had one very, very recently where effectively it was like, the client says, the worst part with this situation was that someone else had made the mistake and then it gets put on you. Yeah. But equally, I think the client appreciates it as well. Like, I've worked with agencies before where, let's say, the account has dropped off, and you're never gonna get the best results 100% of the time. You're going to have weeks which are worse than others for whatever reason. That's always going to happen with any sort of advertising. But situations where the account drops off and they kind of ask questions about it, and the other guy says, oh, do you know what? It's because there's issues in the ad account, there's bugs in the ad account, Facebook's done this or whatever. And it just makes it look like you have absolutely zero control of the outcome. Whereas actually, even if we make a mistake, you're far better off turning around and going, do you know what? I did make a mistake, but this is how we're going to ensure it doesn't happen again. Like, you're showing that you're being proactive then. And again, like you're building SOPs and stuff off the back of it. But I think ultimately, like, if this comes down to results and stuff, but if results have dropped off, I would always go to the next meeting and with a very proactive approach. So basically you say, yes, they have dropped off, but this is the way that we're aiming to improve it. And then obviously celebrate the wins as well, because I think that's something that people don't do enough.
All right, now another topic I kind of want to move on to is just how agencies go about bringing clients in, because obviously you've worked with quite a few agencies, and even since we've sort of merged our agencies, the reason we partnered up is because he's exceptionally good at service delivery. If you can grow your agency through referrals, it just says something, especially in 2025 now. If you're not doing outreach and you're not building some sort of personal brand or doing something to bring clients in, you're going to struggle, because you can only scale, like, let's be real, you can only scale to a certain extent through referrals. Mm-hmm. So, from your experience, what's it been like kind of in being a media buyer in some of these top agencies? Like, even now, we're noticing a lot of people are jumping on podcasts. They're doing a lot more. The founder's role is very much on having a CEO maybe, but their role is very much on maybe jumping on podcasts, talking about personal branding.
Yeah, and we've had to start doing it in the own agency, right? We've had to start really kind of pushing our results more and talking about. It's funny, like I think you end up in this bubble, don't you, where you assume that everyone knows what you do, and we've seen it before. Like, even recently where we put a bit of content out, there'll be like ad results, and people will reach out and go, oh wow, you do ads, and it's like you just kind of, I think you just assume that everyone knows that, and if they're interested, they'll come to you, but that's not the case. It's almost like you have to constantly remind people, like, this is what we do. Because, like, let's say you did a video a month ago, they might not have been looking for the service then, and then now you post one, and suddenly they are looking for it, and it feels like it's just like fate, and it was meant to happen, and that's the thing. It's like, that's the best time to do it. But that founder's role has definitely changed. You get a lot of people just talking to brands, showing their expertise, giving advice, selling a lot of time, or pushing the strategy and just kind of running through what they would do. But it's very much just showing their expertise, and then of course off the back of that, people reach out if they're interested.
No, 100%. And we've even seen it recently. Obviously, Will and I, on the side of running Booster Agency, we've got Agency Booster, where essentially just partnering up with other agencies, helping them sort of get their foot in the door with their first few clients. Because in 2025, let's be honest, it's harder than ever to sign clients. And unless you're an agency that has results and had that experience, like I remember back in 2018 when I started my agency, I could literally reach out to anyone. They didn't even understand what Facebook ads were. Yeah. You reach out to any e-com brand nowadays, let's be honest, they probably actually understand paid ads better than you do as a beginner. So it's super important to, if you are relating back to the topic of this whole video, if you are looking to get into the agency space or you're already in it, guys, you can't just be hiding behind the screen creating Canva posts for your account. You need to make videos. You need to talk about your journey. And the truth is, if you're in the beginning stages and you obviously haven't got cash flow there to invest into maybe a course or invest into a partnership like this where you're working with us, your best bet, honestly, is through also personal connections. Who do you know in your personal network? Who do you know through family that you can honestly just go and deliver a month of service to for free, to then build some sort of testimonial, to build some case study that you can leverage? Because nowadays, I'm telling you now, like, you're going to spend literally 6 months probably doing outreach, doing cold calls, doing cold DMs, cold emails, and just not getting anywhere. Because as a business owner nowadays, it doesn't matter what course you've been through. these guys aren't going to put money into the hands of someone who says they got some experience from going through a course or a YouTube video. So I don't know if you want to add on to that.
Well, no, that's the thing, isn't it? Like the reason we're able to get our students the result is because we've got the results from our clients. So there's not you don't get to the end of the call and they say, okay, well, what case studies have you got? Because through on the call, you can show ad accounts, you can show, we took this account from this level to this level, and not only that, like just talk about strategies that have worked on other accounts and that obviously only comes with experience, and it's a lot harder in regards to that now if you're just starting out. Effectively as well, the media buying role has changed an awful lot in terms of the targeting and stuff that you do from an ads perspective is a lot more simplified. So then it's like, okay, well, what levers can we pull? And that typically comes down to creative and actually writing creative scripts. And even if that's the client doing it, it's like coming to them with ideas so that you've got that extra bit of value as well. We'll actually become, and like we're transitioning into more of a creative first agency, which is got to be the way to go. And that's something that with marketing, like you've got to think, algorithms and stuff are going to change all the time. And the strategy that you use in terms of like, what you're actually setting up within, say, Ads Manager is going to change all the time, but the marketing fundamentals are always going to stay the same. So when it comes down to like what actually gets someone to convert, that is something that you can control within the actual creative output itself. So it's just about, okay, cool, we're going to make as good at ads as we can, regardless of what platform we're going to be pushing them on.
Yeah. Another thing, just for people to really understand, since we've partnered up with a lot of beginner agencies, we've kind of realized some people just don't have that eye for detail or that eye for, is this a good design or is this a shit design? And that's the truth. Like some people just don't have it. And I think it's something you need to learn. Marketing fundamentals, 100%. If you're getting into the agency space, you need to understand marketing fundamentals. Like no doubt about it. With Facebook ads, with Google ads, TikTok, all these different channels, it's evolving month in, month out. You're always having to adapt. So as a media buyer, as long as you understand the marketing fundamentals, you can bring that into any, like who knows, in 10 years, there might be a complete new channel out there. As long as you have the marketing fundamentals, you're going to be fine. Same with creative design. You need to, nowadays, with our clients, we're trying to create concepts and content that's just kind of, it's out of the blue. Like at the end of the day, I don't know if you want to touch, Will's, when it comes to design, Will just has that eye for detail to know, okay, this content's going to do well with the ad, and you need that. So if you're looking to get into the agency space, just spend some time really understanding what good designs are and what bad designs are. I think it's important.
But then you get sort of on the flip side of that, because I've worked with some agencies where the person you're working with is incredibly analytical, but they haven't got a creative bone in their body. So like, I think a lot of the time it's just, everyone's going to be different, right? Like I'm good at the service delivery side, but then I don't particularly like the sales side, which is obviously another big reason why we sort of partnered up on everything as well. But if it is a case where, I think it's having that humility to admit, maybe when you're not so good at something. So if you haven't got the design skills, but you are very good at something like actually analysing data and getting the result on that way, then maybe you do get a designer in on some of these accounts and you do it like that. Like maybe you put that work into someone's hands who is better at that. And that's obviously something that comes naturally when you grow the team and stuff as well. But I think it's one of those things, like I've seen a lot of agencies whose progress is kind of halted because of the founder's ego, and this is businesses as well. But effectively, like, so for example, like they haven't got what it takes when it comes to outreach and actually getting people over the line and stuff like that, which is a situation I was very much in. But they won't admit to that. So effectively, they're jumping on sales calls all the time, not closing any of the clients. Well, it must be because all the leads are bad. Well, no, it's probably not because the leads are bad. It's just that you're not very good at sales. So actually, if they had a salesperson in to do that, or they partnered up with someone else, that's when it makes a lot more sense.
100%. But yeah, hope you took some value from that conversation. Will and I, obviously with this new channel, it's our joint new venture. We are trying to provide as much value as we can to mainly marketing agencies, people who are very new, but also people who are very experienced. Will and I, together we've been in the space for 8 years. He hates me saying it, but we're a decade apart. So he's got 10 years, well, he's 10 years older than me, a lot wiser than me. Well, at the end of the day, Will's kind of gone through that stage of, even when he worked in print advertising, I think you really just understand marketing fundamentals. And yeah, my generation, bloody hell, we spent a lot of years going through reels and scrolling through social media.
It's different, isn't it? It's like when I was working in that print agency, you got to think like, obviously the people working in that might have been doing graphic design and stuff for 30 odd years. And I remember even staying in that, like we were pushing campaigns for some quite big clients, and I said, it'd be good to have sort of a digital aspect. And it was very much like, no, we're a print agency. And even like you could see kind of the conversations that people were having, and it was very negative towards digital marketing. Digital marketing was this thing that's going to be a bit of a fad, and of course at the end of the day it took over. And it's just because you can do testing at such a level that you could never do with print. Like if I'm pushing a magazine and I like headline A and Matty likes headline B, we're going to sit down and we're going to discuss that, and eventually one of those is going to win, or a variation is going to win. Whereas at the end of the day with ads, you run headline A and you run headline B in the digital space, and the data does the work. So that's where it's been so awesome in terms of like you can actually find a really true result, and you can do it in that sort of testing. But yeah, it's been interesting to work in like that sort of landscape and then move into the digital world afterwards as well.
100%. So yeah, we will wrap it up there. But as always, I think Will and I, we appreciate it. We are trying to grow this channel. So even if you've got any ideas or topics you want us to talk about, we have got 16 years combined experience in the agency space. So yeah, feel free to drop a comment, drop us a follow on Instagram as well. And look forward to seeing you in the next video. Appreciate it. Thank you.